Our next guest is zeroing in on one key trend in his latest piece for the Financial Times. Big tech companies are on top yet again, dominating the innovation surge, which he says points to deep dysfunction in the system. Here to discuss, Rockefeller International Chairman Ruchir Sharma. Ruchir, great to have you with us. You say it's not just dysfunctional, but you say that these big tech companies are actually bad monopolies. Why is that?
Well, what I point out in the piece is that if you look at research, what it shows is that if you see the past innovation surges, right? You had the mainframe surge in the late 1960s. We had the PC surge in the early 1980s. And then obviously the internet, the initial internet in 2000. In all those instances, we had relatively new companies and much smaller companies at the forefront of the innovation surge. What's very different this time with the AI wave is that these companies were already dominant in the previous innovation wave, and now they're again dominating these mega cap companies in the AI wave as well. And that I point out is something is not right with that, because tech by definition is a disruptive industry and there should be a lot more new players. And there's a lot of talk of new companies coming and startups coming. But in fact, the number of startups in America is declining, and these mega cap companies go on dominating. So that's really what I point out as to why this is so unusual and possibly dysfunctional.
What is your definition of dominating? Is it publicly traded companies? Is it market cap? Is it sales? Because, I mean, if you look at, for instance, OpenAI is not a publicly traded company, and yet it has played a major role. It was a major force in AI and how consumers perceive AI. And so what do you mean by dominating here?
Yeah, so by dominating, I'm largely looking at market cap in terms of what the gains have been, and that's what I did with the previous instances as well. So you're right that some of this is speculative, some of this is betting on the future, but this has gone on for too long, and there'll always be exceptions. I mean, OpenAI obviously is one of them, even though it's backed by one of the mega companies, but still, there'll always be exceptions. But the broad trend across tech, and this is in fact broad across industries, is the concentration, which is that the degree of concentration we have, particularly from a market cap perspective, is unprecedented. And the past innovation waves, we didn't have this. So that's what I'm trying to point out here as to how different and possibly dysfunctional this is, because it gives them an incredible amount of power, incredible amount of lobbying power, power over regulations which are formed in Washington. And we can see that in the data as well. If you look at the top spend on lobbying, it's these tech companies now which are dominating that list as well.
Is your concern, Ruchir, aside from the potential political influence, on an economic basis, is your worry that we won't get the kind of and magnitude of innovation that we otherwise should because these are the companies leading the way, or is there some other issue?
Yes, I think that it's both of those. One is about the kind of power they have, and two, as you argue, has to do with the fact that will it stifle broader innovation? Because if you look at the number of startups, even though we keep hearing of startups and all, but they are really going down across America, the number of new startups. And that is problematic for me because over time, that will strangle innovation, I think.
Ruchir, though, you stop short of saying that these giants should be broken up. Is that ultimately where this piece is going?
No, I mean, I think that we have to be very careful with that because obviously we've seen what's happened in China when they've tried to trample big tech, and it sort of led to a massive dent in private sector confidence out there. So we have to get the balance correct here. But I'd say that the argument that, these companies will keep dominating because they need to dominate, the resources required for AI are so huge that only these companies can do that, I'd be careful of those arguments. Those are very self-serving arguments that are being put out there. And I think that we have to also look at the trade-off for society in terms of, yes, these companies have done a lot for innovation. They are like obviously the pride of America and across the world. But there's something wrong with capitalism if you keep having the same companies dominate decade after decade. That is not what capitalism should be about.